Hey guys, how's it going? Let's talk about Disney's Jungle Cruise. Over the weekend, I got to see the latest release from Disney. This is a blockbuster movie, and of course, this is a British fan's retrospective thoughts and opinions on this blockbuster movie. This is a review, so there will be some spoilers in this. So if you do not wish to hear spoilers, then you should probably watch the movie and then come back and watch this. I'm an honest YouTuber, if there ever was one. Whether you agree with what I do here, I will tell you off the bat that you will get to hear things in this review that maybe lead to spoilers. I'll try and keep the spoilers to a minimum, and I'll try and just give you the plot of the movie as best as I can. I'm not going to run you scene by scene or anything like that, guys. I'm just going to tell you some things about the movie and what I thought about the movie overall. This is another film featuring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. He co-stars with Emily Blunt, and this is, I think, the major blockbuster debut of for an acting role for Jack Whitehall, the British comedian. He has had other film roles, but nothing anywhere near this stature and this level of acting. It's a action, fantasy, adventure, mystery. This is a good film, and I will tell you straight away, if you have children, this is a must see. I don't know if adults are going to enjoy this as much as children, but families who like to go out for day trips, etc., this is definitely worth going to see at the cinema. The three people that I've just mentioned, their characters in this film, go on a, you may say, magical mystery tour to find a special type of flower or petal of a flower from some flower that it can heal anything in the world or something like that. It's a myth and a story, but it is actually, spoiler alert, true. And how do we get to that? Well, Emily Blunt arrives in Brazil, I believe it is Brazil, with her brother Jack Whitehall, and they go to find a wealthy man who owns the majority of the harbor or the area that this port, well, it's a port, is in Brazil. He owns most of it and is the person who has the most power. But The Rock has had a run-in with him. The Rock's character has had a run-in with him, and his name's Francisco, by the way. He has a run-in with the character, the wealthy man, and he takes The Rock's boat off him, and then The Rock then goes back to steal the keys back, but he can't break into a cabinet to get the keys back. And Emily Blunt's character, I think her name's Lily, she helps him because she thinks that he actually is the rich, wealthy man. In the end, it turns out through a little scheme that The Rock uses a tiger that he's befriended, or some kind of cat-like animal. You know, it looked like a tiger to me anyway. I'll say that for a fact. Somebody in the cinema was calling it something else, but it looked like a tiger to me. And he said, he pretended, sorry, that he was being attacked by it, or the room was being attacked by it, and he put on this charade. In the end, anyway, he helps her, or he offers to take her through a lot of negotiation to this mystery, mythological place where this flower is hidden. And to skip forward a little bit, they go on a little adventure. Things happen, get chased by these people. There's also this German guy that realizes that he's looking for the same thing, and he realizes that the girl is there, Emily Blunt's character, because she is carrying this special arrow that is the key to finding this special mythological place or unlocking the magic or whatever it is. And he is chasing them in a submarine around the harbor of a small harbor in Brazil. And this is supposed to be like in like the 1800s or whenever it was set. I can't remember when the film was actually set, but it certainly wasn't in the modern time. It was set around World War II, I believe. I believe that is, guys. Yeah. And once again, to skip forward a little bit, The Rock ends up revealing, because he actually dies in the film, or so we think that he's died at the hands of the German guy who is now in pursuit of Emily Blunt, The Rock, and Jack Whitehall. From the very start of the movie, we get a chase, and somewhere in the middle of the movie, The Rock is actually killed, and then he reveals that he's not actually just a person who lets people travel on his boat and, you know, does basically as a taxi boat or whatever. He uses his boat as a taxi. He also is, and I want you to, you know, like, understand that this is part of the actual plot line. He is actually a 400 or near 400-year-old man that he was cursed along with other people, 3 other people, I believe, maybe 3 or 4 other people, because 3 people, I think it was. He was cursed because they tried to find, or they did find, the tribe that had the special petals, because they basically went into the jungle in search of the place, and they ended up like dying. Basically, they were moments from death, and they were saved by this tribe, and the tribe took them in and helped them and restored them with the power of this special flower, because it can heal anything, like I said. And they then, because one of the guys wanted the flower to heal his wife, I think it was, he then betrayed the tribe. He killed the leader of the tribe, because the leader of the tribe told him that he wasn't worthy to get the flower and all this kind of stuff. There was obviously some kind of ritual or whatever, and he killed the guy, and they became cursed, because the tribesman, with his last breath, cursed them all. They all had various different curses, but the curse was that the main part of the curse was that they couldn't leave the riverside, the riverbed. If they went anywhere further from the river, they would be, like, basically brought back to the same spot, or brought back to the closest point of the river. And through the just sheer intervention, divine intervention, The Rock figured out, because these guys, actually, The Rock tried to stop the main person, the person who'd killed the tribe's leader. The Rock tried to stop him, and he then stabbed The Rock. But in all of the madness, because of the curse, the curse then made them invincible. But at the same time, with being invincible, they weren't allowed to leave the riverbed. Yeah. And The Rock became what he became. But what he did was, because he kept fighting with the guys, he then ended up trapping them in a cave. And because they weren't able to get back to the jungle, they were basically tied up in loads of vines, and get back to the river. They were basically tied up in all these jungle vines and left to basically rot and whatever else, and, you know, decay. And they became, one of them was possessed by like snake-like powers, and one of them was possessed like bee-like powers, and there was another guy possessed by some other things, and it was all crazy in that, guys. But these are the main, like, antagonists and fighters in the film, despite the fact that the German guy is also there. He's a bit more like comedy effect, but he's also a leader. He's also like the main villain himself, even though the bad guys are all based around all these slimy, horrible guys. So yeah, to once again fast forward a little bit more, they arrive at the place through going through loads of different situations and scenarios. They arrive at the place where the flower is supposed to be, and there's all these little code words where you've got to do this thing and you've got to do that thing to make it, you know, like, one of the things, I can give you an example. One of the things is you've got to turn water to stone. So what they do is they actually, by accident or by just guessing for some reason, they manage to figure out that if they block up this thing, then it drains all the water. Or they go underneath and they find this little contraptment thing inside of the water, and they make it so all the water drains out of this thing, and obviously, like you say, turn water to stone. And then they realize that they're in the right place. They go underground, even though they are then captured or then caught by the German guy who's in the submarine. or submarine, and they are then taken to the actual spot where the flower is, and it's when the flower and petals and that can only be revealed when it's a full moon. There's all sorts of stuff going on with the plot line of this film, guys. You know, I'm not going to try to just openly defend that there is not a few moments, not loads, but there was a few moments where I did actually scratch my head and say like, yo, so right, we're just adding things in as we go along. But it was very fantasy driven and, you know, mystery driven. So yeah, they go from there and then they unlock the secret because it's something to do with the arrow, and they, rather than the arrow just being placed into a slot, they actually break the arrow and it's got a gem in there. They place the gem in one hole and they place the arrow in a different hole, and then hey presto, here we go, we have a room full of these magical petals, etc. But just when we see the magic arrive, the full moon is going away, and because there's a scuffle with the guys who are trying to break the curse because they need the petals to stop themselves from completely turning into just absolute, just disgusting messes. One of them is surrounded by like honey because he's been completely taken over by a beehive like sort of thing. It's disgusting to see, but you know, it's fantasy driven, very Pirates of the Caribbean, I must say. Like when they're doing the Dead Man, was it not Dead Man's Hand, the original one anyway, the Curse of the Black Pearl, that was it, or whatever it was, where they can't come out of the, if they step into the light or the moonlight, you can see that they're all disfigured. It was very much like that, guys, but these guys were always disfigured. But yeah, they want to lift the curse. They, as all of the tree and the magical leaves are going away and disintegrating and dying, all you have to do is pick one and you can get it, and it will stay as a petal, by the way, until it's obviously used as what it's supposed to be used for. So they get one. But in the meantime, the Rock pretends that he has the petal, but he doesn't have the petal. He's given it to Jack Whitehall to save for Emily Blunt, who is, she's off in her own little thing fighting with the deformed guys. And the Rock then sacrifices himself and sacrifices the other 3 people, because of course when the water dries up, guys, because you have to be near the river, the jungle comes calling. So he crashes his boat, drains all the water, and then they get dragged to the walls and trapped into the walls in loads of vines and stuff, including the Rock. But Emily Blunt then saves the Rock, thus bringing him back to life and also lifting the curse. And there you have, guys, the tale of the Jungle Cruise. Now, I know I gave you a bit of a higgledy-piggledy review of this, but that is the basis of this from a British fan. I'm going to be honest, guys, this was a really good movie. It wasn't for all. Not everyone's going to enjoy this film. I would recommend it if you, of course, would be going to the cinema and watching this with children, especially younger children, maybe, you know, 12 and under. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I didn't have a problem watching this. I've always loved these kinds of, you know, journey to the center of the earth, national, whatever it was, the one with National Treasure, those kinds of films. Even it had a bit of like Indiana Jones in it. Those kind of things were involved in this. I really enjoyed this, guys. I am actually going to give this a 9 out of 10. And I hope that you guys go out and watch this and actually watch it at the cinema to experience this film for what it was. Shout out to Jack Whitehall in his first role, major acting role. He did do very well in this film. This film, in my opinion, will age very, very well. It'll be one of them films that you'll be watching, or people will be watching in like 10, 15, 20 years' time. I'm strongly believing that. And to finally wrap this up, I would highly recommend it, guys. Go out and watch this movie. You won't be disappointed. Please like, share, subscribe, and stay tuned for more.